Ben didn't expect his day to end like this. He had spent nearly 9 hours fixing the water pumps in the lower deck of the Alyari Human Research Station. The pipes had burst again, leaking blue fluid and thick grease that stuck to his arms and neck like glue. His uniform was a mess, and his back ached. Still, he didn't complain. Life on the station was strange but peaceful. The Alyari people, tall, calm, and graceful, were nothing like humans. They walked with quiet steps, spoke softly, and always seemed to be smiling gently. Their station was filled with glowing walls, smooth corners, and strange sweet smells. Ben was one of the few humans sent to the station for the cultural exchange program. He worked as a technician and sometimes helped with teaching Earth language basics to curious Alyari students. After his long shift, Ben walked slowly to the shared cleansing room. It was quiet, and steam filled the air. Warm light shined from under the floor, making the smooth tiles glow a soft gold. He stepped out of his uniform, entered the cleansing stream, and let the warm water run over his skin. It was peaceful. No alarms, no noise, just water and his tired body. He grabbed a sponge and tried to scrub the grease off his arms. Some of it came off easily, but parts near his neck and back were harder to reach. Just then, he heard a soft sound, footsteps. He turned his head, thinking someone had entered the wrong room. An Alyari girl stood at the entrance. She was young, probably close to his age. Her skin was light blue, and her eyes were bright green with silver specks. Her dark hair was tied in soft loops behind her long ears. Ben quickly turned his body, covering himself with the nearest cloth. "Sorry, I thought the room was empty," he said, feeling embarrassed. The girl tilted her head, smiling kindly. "You missed a spot," she said softly, walking closer. Ben blinked. "What?" She pointed at the grease still stuck on his back. "May I help?" she asked gently. "You ate, sure?" he answered, confused but not wanting to offend her. She walked up beside him and picked up a clean sponge. Without any hesitation, she began wiping his neck with slow, careful movements. Her touch was light, almost like a breeze. Ben didn't know what to say. No one had ever watched him like this, not since he was a kid. "In your culture, is this strange?" the girl asked, noticing his quietness. "Yeah, kinda," Ben said. "On Earth, only close people usually do this, like family." "I see," she said, her voice calm. "With us, it is normal. To clean someone is to show you care." Ben nodded slowly. "Interesting. I didn't know that." She gently wiped the last bit of grease from behind his ear. "There, now you are clean." He smiled awkwardly. "Thanks. What's your name?" "Talari," she said. "You are Ben, yes? The one who helps with broken pumps?" "Yeah, that's me. I break things too. Sometimes," he joked. Talari. Laugh softly. "Then we are similar. I once broke the stasis pod in my class." They stood quietly for a moment. The air felt calm again, but something was different now. "You have kind eyes," Talari said suddenly, "like water that waits before flowing." Ben wasn't sure what that meant, but he smiled anyway. "Thank you, Talari, and sorry again. For, well, everything." "You do not need to say sorry," she said. This moment was peaceful. She turned and walked toward the exit. Before leaving, she looked back and said, "If you ever need help cleaning again, I will come." Ben watched her go, still holding the sponge in his hand. He didn't move for a long minute. Then he whispered to himself, "What just happened?" For the first time in months, the station didn't feel so quiet anymore. The next morning, Ben kept thinking about what happened with Talari. He had met many Alyari during his time on the station, but no one had ever walked up and calmly watched him before, and definitely no one had ever smiled at him like that after doing it. He sat in the small dining room, poking at his breakfast. A tray of protein cubes and fruit slices sat in front of him, but he barely touched them. His mind kept repeating her words, "If you ever need help cleaning again, I will come." His friend from Earth, Nate, sat down beside him. "You look like you just got hit by a memory stick," Nate joked. Ben sighed. "You ever had an Alyari girl clean grease off your back like it was totally normal?" Nate raised an eyebrow. No. Why? Ben told him what happened in the cleansing room. Nate listened, surprised at first, then laughed. Dude, you got invited into their care custom. That's like a serious trust. They only do that when they feel safe with you. Really? Ben asked. But we just met. You probably made a good impression, Nate said. They're big on energy. If you feel calm, they feel calm. Ben nodded slowly. He finished his food and walked to the learning chamber where Talari usually worked. He didn't plan to talk to her again so soon, but something pulled him there. As he reached the door, it opened and Talari stepped out carrying a book-shaped device. She stopped when she saw him, and her eyes lit up like soft stars. Ben, she said, you are not covered in grease today. Not yet, he smiled. I just wanted to say thanks for yesterday. It was strange for me, but also kind. Talari nodded. I understand. For us, it is comfort. For you, it is surprise. Yeah, Ben said. But I want to learn more. Maybe understand. You're way better. Her smile widened. Then walk with me. They strolled through the station's sky garden, a place filled with strange floating plants and vines that moved gently as if breathing. Glowing orbs floated above them, lighting the path. We Alyari show care through presence, Talari explained. When someone is tired, we stay. When someone is injured, we clean. When someone is lonely, we listen. That sounds nice, Ben said. How do humans show care? She asked. Ben thought. We talk. We buy gifts. Sometimes. We give hugs. But washing someone, that's usually private. Talari looked curious. But how do you learn someone's sadness if you don't touch their skin? Ben laughed softly. We usually wait until they tell us. She said. Then many hearts must stay quiet. They walked a little more before sitting near a water fountain that made soft music like sounds. This is where I come when I miss my home, Talari said. The songs in the water remind me of our mountain rains. Ben listened. The sound did feel calming, peaceful, like her voice. Do you miss your home a lot? He asked. Yes, but not always, she said. Some days, here feels like home. She turned to him. And you? Do you miss Earth every day? Ben said. But right now, I don't mind being here. Their eyes met. Something unspoken passed between them, soft and simple, like the wind dot just then. A small Alyari child ran past them, slipped, and fell near the fountain. Talari rushed over and helped the girl up, gently brushing dust off her hands. She even pulled out a cloth and wiped the child's face. Ben watched closely. The same way she helped the child, she had helped him. Calm, quiet, caring. The child thanked Talari and skipped away. Talari stood up and smiled. She will remember that someone was there, she said. Ben thought about it. He realized he would remember that too, not just today, but yesterday, and maybe all the days ahead. As they walked back to the living quarters, Talari stopped at a crystal panel on the wall. She pressed her hand to it, and it lit up, showing images of flowing rivers and glowing skies. These are from my world, she said. Do you want to see it someday? Yeah, Ben said without thinking. I'd like that. Then I will wait, she whispered. Before she left, she turned to him again and said with a playful smile, if tomorrow brings grease, do not forget I clean better than you. Ben laughed. I'll keep that in mind. She walked away, and he stood there a little longer, feeling like something had just begun, something simple, quiet, and beautiful. The next week passed slowly, but in a peaceful way. Ben found himself noticing Talari more and more. She was always doing something helpful, guiding a group of young Alyari, tending to the soft plants in the garden, or standing by the water fountains and listening to the songs of the station. Ben worked long hours in the lower decks, but he didn't mind anymore. Even days after the battle passed quietly, the ship Farwind was safe again. The pirates and the unknown ship were gone. The crew went back to their routine, but something had changed. The silence between the crew was softer, warmer. Rick and Leora had made a difference. Rick and Leora spent more time together now, not just fixing the ship, but talking, learning, understanding. One afternoon, as the ship floated near a small space station, Rick and Leora stood on the observation deck. Stars twinkled beyond the thick glass. The station lights blinked softly. Rick looked at Leora. "Do you ever think about what comes next?" She turned to him, her silver blue eyes reflecting the stars. "Sometimes, but I try not to think too much. The future is uncertain." Rick nodded. "Yeah, but maybe we can make it better." Leora smiled slightly. "You always see hope where others don't." Rick laughed softly. "Someone has to." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Rick said, "You never told me your real name." Leora looked away. "Leora is my true name, but some call me something else before." "What did they call you?" "Traitor," she said softly, "because I refused to build weapons, because I chose peace." Rick reached out and gently took her hand. "I think you're brave, more than anyone I've met." Leora looked at him, surprised. "Thank you." At that moment, the captain's voice came over the ship's intercom. "Attention all crew. The command fleet is arriving. They have orders for us." Rick and Leora exchanged looks. The future was coming faster than they expected. Soon, a large fleet appeared on the sensors, human and alien ships, shining bright. Powerful. The captain gathered the crew in the main room. "We did well," he said. "But our journey is not over. We will join the fleet for the next mission." Rick felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Leora. "Are you ready?" she asked. Rick smiled. "With you, always." They walked side by side to the bridge. The stars stretched ahead, endless and full of promise. As the fleet moved forward, Rick thought about how much had changed since he first boarded Farwind. From a silent ship filled with strangers to a place where he had found trust, courage, and maybe even friendship, something deeper. Leora bent over once again to check a control panel. This time, Rick did look, but with respect and understanding. He knew now that sometimes seeing someone was more than just looking. It was about truly knowing them, and with Leora beside him, he was ready to face whatever the stars held next. Hand grease covered his arms and his shirt was soaked with sweat. He kept smiling. Each time he walked through the halls, he hoped to see her. One afternoon, after a tough repair job, Ben returned to the cleansing room again. This time he checked the room's light to make sure it was marked in use. He didn't want another surprise. Still, part of him wondered if Talari would walk in again. He started washing himself, water flowing quietly around him. He thought he was alone until he heard the soft steps again. He turned, and there she was. "You are messy again," she said with a soft grin. "I'm starting to think you follow the grease," Ben joked. She stepped inside, holding a folded cloth and a small bottle of purple liquid. "Today I brought something," she said. "It is a cleanser from my home. It softens dirt and warms the skin." "Sounds fancy," Ben said. She knelt beside him and poured a few drops on the cloth. As she began wiping his arm gently, the scent of flowers filled the air. Ben relaxed. "This smell is amazing." "What's it called?" "Alara," she said. "It grows near our warm lakes. Only during moonlight." "You're serious?" Ben asked. "It only grows under moonlight," she nodded. "Our moon reflects emotion. Only when the night feels peaceful will the flower bloom." "That's beautiful," he said quietly. She smiled but didn't answer. Instead, she kept cleaning his arm. Then she moved to his back and shoulders, gently working away the layers of oil. She didn't speak, and Ben didn't either. Silence became its own kind of voice. After a while, she asked, "May I ask something?" "Of course." "Why do humans feel shy when someone helps them clean?" Ben chuckled softly. "It's not bad. It's just different. We're taught to keep space between people, even families sometimes. Space makes hearts cold," Talari said. "Touch is language too." "I think I'm starting to understand that," he said. She placed the cloth down and picked up a soft brush. "Then I will teach you more. Tomorrow, we begin the sharing ceremony." "Sharing ceremony?" Ben asked. Confused, "Yes," she said. "When two people become close, they go to the garden springs. They sit in the water and clean each other. With care. It is how we show trust. It is called the gentle bond." Ben blinked. "Are you inviting me?" "Yes," Talari said, looking into his eyes. Unless you are afraid. No, I'm not afraid, Ben replied. I just didn't think I was that important. You are, she said without hesitation, to me. Ben felt a strange warmth inside him, not from the water or the cleanser, but from her words. Then I'll be there, he said. The next day, Talari met him at the path near the glowing trees. She wore a soft white robe, and her hair was braided with small silver threads. She handed Ben a folded robe too. The garden springs are open, she said. Follow me. They walked in silence down a winding path of smooth stones. Soft lights floated above their heads, and quiet music echoed through the trees. It was unlike anything Ben had seen. The air smelled like fresh rain and sweet fruits. The springs were pools of warm water with glowing blue edges, a few alyari. Pairs were already there, sitting close together, gently washing each other's hands or brushing each other's hair. Talari led him to a smaller pool. She stepped into the water first, then turned and waited for him. Ben stepped in slowly. The water felt warm, almost like it knew him. They sat across from each other. Talari dipped her hands in the water, then touched his palm. Give me your hands, she said. He placed his hands in hers. She began slowly washing them, tracing the lines of his fingers. These hands build. They carry, she whispered. Then she let him do the same. He gently washed her arms, her hands, and her fingers. He didn't rush. Every motion was quiet and careful. When they were done, they both looked at each other. Now we are bonded by trust, Talari said. Ben couldn't speak. He only nodded, his heart full. For the first time since arriving on the station, he didn't feel like a visitor. He felt like he belonged. Ben woke up early the next morning. He still felt the warmth of the garden springs on his skin. The memory of Talari's soft hands washing his made him smile. It wasn't just about the water. It was the care, the way she looked at him, the way she made him feel like he belonged. His room was quiet, filled with the soft hum of the station's life systems. He stood up, stretched, and walked toward the small crystal on his desk. It was a gift Talari had given him weeks ago. Today, it glowed a little brighter. He touched it gently, wondering if that meant she was thinking of him. At the dining hall, Ben found Nate already eating. You look like you spent the night floating, Nate said with a grin. Maybe I did, Ben answered. Sitting down, I went to the garden springs with Talari yesterday. Nate's eyes widened. Wait, the gentle bond thing, Ben nodded. Yeah, Nate whistled. Wow, that's no joke, man. That's serious. I mean, that's like Alyari level serious. Ben looked down at his tray, unsure how to respond. I didn't plan it. It just happened. But I didn't want to say no. I get it, Nate said. Just be ready. If she trusts you that much, others will notice. Ben nodded slowly. He already felt things were changing. Later that day, Ben was called to repair a power conduit in one of the outer station corridors. The place was quiet, with only a soft blue light shining from the walls. He worked carefully, using his tools to check the wiring. But as he was finishing, the station shook slightly. An alarm rang out sharp and loud. Warning, energy surge in Section 9, seal breach in progress. Ben grabbed his kit and ran toward the source of the alert. He tapped his communicator, engineering to control. I'm close to Section 9. What's happening? A voice replied, pressure leak, and the panel's failing. Get out of there, Ben. But Ben didn't turn back. Someone could be trapped. Inside. When he reached the door, he found Talari already there, trying to seal a crack in the wall with emergency gel. Talari, he shouted. What are you doing here? I came to help, she answered. This system powers the water circulation for the gardens. We must fix it. Before he could stop her, a small explosion rocked the wall. Metal parts fell. Ben didn't think. He jumped and covered Talari, pulling her to the floor. A piece of sharp panel scraped across his shoulder, tearing his sleeve and cutting his skin. Ben, Talari cried. I'm fine, he said, holding his arm. Just a scratch. They crawled away as the emergency team arrived and secured the area. One medic led Ben to the medical room. Talari stayed close, refusing to leave. In the small medical room, Ben sat on a bench while the medic checked his wound. The cut wasn't deep, but it needed cleaning. "This will sting," the medic said before the medic could continue. Talari stepped forward. "Let me do it." The medic looked at Ben. He nodded. "Talar." took the cloth in warm water, dipping it gently. Her hands trembled slightly as she cleaned the wound. Her face was serious, her eyes soft with worry. "You protect me," she said in a whisper, "even when danger comes." "Of course I do," Ben replied. "You're important to me." She didn't speak right away. Instead, she carefully wiped the blood away and wrapped the bandage around his arm. Her fingers moved with care, tying the knot softly. When she finished, she looked into his eyes. "You missed a spot," she said, "just like that first day," and pointed at a bit of grease still on his cheek. They both laughed. "Some things never change," Ben said. "But some things do," she whispered. He nodded. As they walked back to the main corridor together, people, both humans and Alyari, watched them, not with judgment, but with quiet understanding. Their bond was no longer hidden. It was something strong, something real. And Ben didn't feel like a stranger anymore. Not to her, not to this place. Ben sat quietly on the edge of his bed, staring at his arm wrapped in soft white cloth. The pain from the cut was fading, but something else stayed in his chest, a strange feeling he couldn't name. It wasn't fear or confusion. It was something warmer, something deeper. He remembered the way Talari had cleaned his wound, how careful her hands had been, and when she smiled after saying "you missed a spot," it felt like everything had returned to where it all began, but stronger now. He picked up the small crystal she gave him and held it in his hand. Its soft glow pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. The Alyari said these crystals responded to emotion, and right now, his emotions were all tangled. Just then, a soft chime rang from the door. Ben stood up and opened it. Talari stood there, holding a small tray with a cup of warm herbal tea and a folded cloth. "May I come in?" she asked. "Of course," Ben said, stepping aside. She walked in, placing the tray on the table. Her eyes met his, calm and full of something unsaid. "You should rest," she said. "Your body is strong, but even strength must pause." Ben sat down. "Thank you for the tea and for yesterday." She sat across from him. "You saved me, Ben. You would have done the same," he replied. "Maybe, but you didn't stop to think. You just acted." She paused. "We Alyari believe that true care is shown without waiting." He nodded slowly. "I didn't want anything to happen to you." A quiet moment passed. Only the hum of the room filled the air. Then Talari opened a small silver box she had brought. Inside was a second crystal, almost the same as the one Ben had, but this one was clear, not glowing. "This is a bond crystal," she said. "If placed near another crystal that glows, it will begin to glow too if the feelings are returned." Ben stared at the box. "Are you saying?" "I'm saying you already made my crystal glow." Talari whispered, "I don't know if yours glows yet, but I hope it does." He reached into his pocket and pulled out his glowing crystal. He placed it gently beside hers. The moment they touched, the second crystal began to glow softly. Talari smiled. Ben felt his chest tighten in a good way. "So, now we're connected?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "It means our hearts understand each other." He smiled back. "Funny how all this started because I didn't wash my back properly." Talari laughed gently. Sometimes the universe uses simple things to open important doors. Later that evening, a message arrived from Earth Command. Ben was told that the exchange program was being reviewed due to changes in policy. Human personnel might have to return to Earth within the next 2 cycles. Ben read the message twice. He felt his stomach sink. He walked back to Talari, who was now tending to the small glowing plants in the hallway. "Talari," he said softly. She looked up and saw the worry in his eyes. "They might call us back home," he said. "Soon." Her hands froze. "How soon?" 2 cycles. Maybe. Less. She stood silently. The soft lights round them flickered gently. "And you will leave?" she asked. "I don't want to," he said. "But they're not asking. They're telling." Talari lowered her gaze. then we don't have much time. I want to spend that time with you, Ben said. She nodded. Then meet me tomorrow at the upper garden, she whispered. There's something I want to show you. The next day, Ben walked through the high corridors, his heart heavy but his steps steady. At the top of the station, a small gate opened into a quiet garden filled with floating lights and soft air. Talari stood in the middle, wearing a robe made of silver cloth. She held a single glowing stone. This is the mirror stone, she said. It shows a person what the other sees. She stepped forward and placed the stone between them. The stone lit up. Inside, Ben saw an image not of himself, but how Talari saw him. He looked kind, strong, gentle, peaceful. This is you to me, Talari said. Even if your body leaves, this is what stays. Ben stepped closer. And to me, you are the light that made this place feel like home. They stood in silence, watching the stone glow. Neither said goodbye, because some bonds didn't need words. The days that followed felt like they moved both fast and slow. Ben kept working, fixing systems and helping the Alyari staff, but his thoughts were always with Talari. They spent time together in small ways, sharing meals, walking through the garden paths, and listening to the glowing water streams in silence. Every moment felt important now, precious. The return order from Earth was still set. Ben had only a few days left on the station. His heart grew heavier with each passing hour, but he tried to stay calm for Talari's sake. One quiet evening, Talari met him at the shared sitting chamber near the crystal dome. Stars above them sparkled through the transparent ceiling, and small orbs of light floated around the garden trees. She placed a folded cloth on the bench and sat beside him. I have been thinking, she said softly. Ben looked at her, his eyes gentle. About what? About how something small can change everything, she said. You came here with tools and grease on your hands. You didn't understand our ways. And yet, you stayed. You listened. You cared. Ben smiled a little. I think I was just trying to be useful at first. But then, I met you. She nodded. And now, you are more than useful. You are part of the flow. The flow. Yes, Talari explained. Our belief says all life flows like water. When two flows meet and join, they become one stream. You join mine. He looked at her quietly, not knowing what to say. Her words always had a calm power, like slow-moving rivers. Then Talari reached into her robe and pulled out a small flat object. It was a thin, clear sheet, glowing faintly. This is my application, she said. I asked to be part of the ambassador group. I want to visit Earth. Ben blinked. You want to come to Earth? If you must leave, I will follow the path, she said. Not because I have to, but because I want to see your world with my own eyes. He couldn't stop smiling. You'd really do that? I already sent my request, she said. But it takes time. Many questions, much approval. Ben's heart felt lighter. He didn't know how long it would take, but knowing she was willing gave him hope. They sat in silence for a while. Then Talari stood and reached her hand toward him. Come with me, she said. He followed her through the quiet halls until they reached a private spring room. Warm light filled the space, and the soft sound of water echoed around them. She placed a small set of folded towels nearby and turned on the gentle stream. Mist filled the air. One last time, she said, before you leave. They stepped into the warm stream. Side by side, she took a cloth, dipped it in soft scented water, and gently wiped his arms. No words were needed. Ben did the same, helping her wash her hands, her arms, and her shoulders with care. It was slow, calm, and full of feeling. Not sadness, not goodbye, but connection. When they finished, Talari gave him a round crystal with a single strand of her hair sealed inside. Keep this close, she said. It will glow when I am near. Ben placed it gently in his pouch. And you, she added, must remember this. Some spots are not just missed by the hands, but by the heart. He chuckled. Then I'll keep checking both. They walked back to the station's upper corridor. His shuttle departure was set for the next morning. As they stood by the main gate, she looked at him with steady eyes. Promise me one thing, anything. Do not forget the water, she said. The gentle way, the care. Even in your busy world, remember this feeling. He nodded. I promise. They touched crystals one last time. Hers still glowed. Softly, his did too. I will find you, she said. Even if the stars move far, I will follow. Ben leaned forward and gently touched his forehead to hers, as the Alyari do. The final gesture of trust. Then, slowly, he turned and walked toward the shuttle bay. He didn't look back, not because he wanted to forget, but because he wanted to carry her image forward with him, like a light in his memory. And behind him, Talari stood still, her hands folded, eyes closed. Waiting. Ben stepped onto the shuttle, his heart heavy but full of hope. The engines hummed softly, and the stars outside seemed brighter than before. As the shuttle lifted off from the Alyari Human Research Station, Ben held the small crystal Talari had given him close to his chest. Days passed in a blur of travel and preparation. Ben tried to focus on the future, but his thoughts kept returning to Talari, the gentle way she had cared for him, the soft smiles, the quiet moments in the garden springs. When the shuttle finally reached Earth, Ben was greeted by cold air and loud city sounds. It was so different from the calm halls of the station. But he carried a piece of that peace with him. He returned to his work in Earth's space program, helping to prepare for future missions. But every day, he checked the glowing crystal. It pulsed softly, a steady reminder of Talari. Then one evening, Ben received a message unlike any other. It was an official transmission from the Alyari Ambassador Program. Talari's application had been approved. She would be arriving on Earth soon. Ben's heart raced. He immediately began preparing for her arrival, nervous and excited all at once. When the day finally came, Ben stood at the spaceport, waiting among the crowd. The doors opened, and tall figures in elegant robes stepped out. Then, among them, was Talari. Her skin glowed softly in the Earth's sunlight, and her eyes searched the crowd. When she saw Ben, her lips curved into a gentle smile. Ben stepped forward with a towel in his hand, a playful grin on his face. My turn this time, he said softly. Talari laughed, the sound clear and bright. She took the towel and began wiping the dirt from his forehead, just as she had done before. They stood close, hands touching, smiles lingering. Ben knew their journey was only beginning. Together, they walked out into the new world, to flows joining into one strong stream. Their story, which started with a simple spot mist on his back, became a symbol of trust, care, and friendship between two worlds. And no matter where the stars took them, they would always remember the gentle bond.